Noel Nation 152 times. Can you believe it? Talk about being here and delivering week after week after week for basically 3 years now. Jason Parker, NBC6, Logan Robinson, Noel Game Day. I'm merely Mark Rogers, the voice of college football on our Florida State live show on Wednesday, as we always are here.
Guys,
Yes.
I don't want to alarm anyone, but we actually can talk about a football game this week. We've been BSing our way through the last 4 months. Now it's actually time where we can talk about a real football game, and knowing full well that Florida State is going to win this game this Saturday. I mean, it's a game that doesn't count for us at all, but still.
Yeah, so can we really call it a real football game?
Yes, because I am driving up from South Florida knowing full well that I'm going to watch a Florida State team win. Technically, I'm also going to watch a Florida State team lose, but still, that's not what we're going with here.
Sounds like you might have time to join us for some spring game, post game.
I mean,
there you go.
If Logan is sober enough, I think we can maybe convince
We'll simulcast it on the Miami channel.
I mean,
there you go. Now I'll do it.
I mean, you were talking about living in the past. Those fans will help us out big time with that. Yeah, absolutely.
They'll help us out. Yeah, feels good. Feels good. There's a game going on this weekend. There's one more practice, short one. And then Friday they'll have walkthroughs. And then Saturday we'll be back in Doak for what is going to be not really a garnet and gold game like it usually is, but it's going to be the offense versus defense game per Mike Norvell yesterday. So looking forward to being back in Doak, having fans here. I know some will be distracted by the Masters, but all football fans will be here in Tallahassee. And it's looking to be absolutely gorgeous after this last storm goes by. It's supposed to be gorgeous starting tomorrow all the way through Monday. So looking forward to seeing some fans. Hopefully some listeners of the Mark Rogers Show will come up and say hi. And don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't worry. Jason won't be near me, so you don't have to freak out.
Will you be in the?
We'll get an autograph.
Will you be in the press box scamming, or will you be actually in the stands with the real fans like me?
No, I'll be in the press box scamming everyone. I will be doing legitimate work, though. I won't be doing it just for the Chick-fil-A and the Wi-Fi and the AC. I promise.
Wow.
I'm going to be up there. Trust me. Do you think I would rather be in the stands drinking a beer, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 beers? Absolutely. But we'll save that.
We know your numbers. We know your numbers. Let's be honest.
You know that real well.
Absolutely. We know those numbers with you there. Logan, what's been the latest going on with camp? Obviously, last week heading into the Garnet and Gold game. What's been going on with the latest through practices over the last week?
It's been a lot of defense. It's been a lot of defense and dominance, and I think some fans might have been a little, not too sure about the defense going into the spring. There was some question marks, but you had some talent there, and I think the biggest concern was losing Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas. And I just want to get straight to the point here and be bold. I want to give a hot take on the Mark Rogers Show to get things going, to get ready for the spring game, get ready for a fun weekend ahead. You lose Jermaine Johnson, but you have Jared Verse, and it is now officially Jared Verse's time. This is it. He's not just 1 year. You've got a couple years with him. And I think with losing Jermaine Johnson, you replace him with Jared Verse. I think now the biggest question is who's going to be your number 2 defensive end over there? Is that going to be Derek McLendon? Could it be a young Pat Payton? Is it going to be Dennis Briggs once he's fully healthy and ready to go? But right now, I'm not seeing anything far off from what I've been seeing at practices. I'm not seeing anything different than what Jermaine Johnson was doing this last fall than what I'm seeing with Jared Verse. The last couple of practices have been absolutely the Jared Verse show. And yesterday, I just continue, and James has seen it too, but maybe not so much. I don't know. He hasn't been to the last 2 practices, but this has been an absolutely debut show for Jared Verse, because guess what? He's getting more time with the ones. He's getting more time and opportunities and different schemes, and he's taking every advantage of it. I mean, he's tossing kids with one arm and then going and grabbing Jordan Travis, not easy to tackle with his other arm. He did this yesterday. He went back. It reminds me of when Clowney came through against Michigan and just absolutely blew up the handoff and blew up the running back. Obviously, no hitting is really too much allowed. There's some thuds and stuff going on, and these guys are starting to get pissed off at each other and getting irritated because it's spring. You're facing the same guy over and over again, and you're not facing a different opponent every week like fall. And, these offensive linemen are not so happy with Jared Verse. He's a guy that will flex on you. He likes talking trash to you. He'll let you know if he just made a play, and then he'll do it again, which he did yesterday in the red zone defense, collecting another sack back-to-back on 4th down. You lose Jermaine Johnson, yes. You got Jared Verse. That's all I'm going to say. I hope he gets a lot of snaps on Saturday for people to see, so then I don't look too crazy, or everybody will just have to wait until the fall. But I'm hoping that people will get a little glimpse of what this guy number 5 is, who's an absolute animal. When he's off the field, when he's on the sideline, he's chirping at the offense. He's jumping up, and he doesn't stop moving. He's jumping up and down, jumping up. He's talking. It's like a Jermaine Johnson player on the field, but he's more vocal than Jermaine was. Jermaine was a little bit more collected, but when looking at Jared, he's a guy that kind of likes to tick you off, and I think it's starting to marinate over to some of the other defensive linemen, like a Jarrett Jackson, who we saw last year, not really a talkative guy. For some reason, the last couple of practices, he's been in guys' faces. He's had 2 back-to-back sacks yesterday. I think had a fumble recovery, which he would have taken back for 6. It's starting to translate to some of these other defensive linemen, and you're starting to see a different kind of tenacity. But I had to start off hot there with Jared.
But you actually didn't. Before we introduce James Coleman into the show, let me explain to you what a hot take is. If you're going to come out and declare that you've got a hot take, we need the hot take. Is the hot take that Jared Verse is going to have more sacks than Jermaine Johnson? Is it that what is the hot take? You literally just said that he's good.
I think the hot take is that how do I say it? If I say that Jared Verse and Jermaine Johnson are on the same caliber of level, that you're not dramatically losing Jermaine Johnson.
I'll just say that I was a bit offended for Jason in particular there, and that rarely happens because he's the king of the hot take, and he basically, I think, has exclusive rights to the hot take.
No, I'll allow it if it's actually a hot take, not a lukewarm take like that right there. Okay. Basically, you said Jared Verse is a good player.
I've called you out on that a few times as well, Jason. And by the way, Big Game James, of course, you are the man, and we appreciate you being here because we know you got a zillion things going on. We're going to go a little heavy Logan the first half hour because he's got to cut out at 6:30.
Thank God.
I know, right? Well,
he's going to go work in his hot takes, apparently.
But yeah, Jared Verse, I think the biggest question that's already done. That's locked down. But now you find out who's your Keir Thomas, who's your guy on the other side. And I think that's going to be probably Derek McLendon. He did a really good job with his body so far, and I can only imagine what he'll continue to do with Coach Storms the next couple of months heading into summer camp and fall camp. But I think it will be Derek McLendon. But that's the thing. I think the biggest question mark heading into the spring defensively was how do you replace Keir Thomas and Jermaine Johnson? So far, you got half of that. Jared Verse is a solidified starter, in my opinion. Things could change. Dennis Briggs, I don't think is fully. I think they're still letting him recover and get back to full health, so you don't really see him full speed yet. You get to see D-Mac, you get to see Krishawn Fuller. Another guy that I like is Pat Payton, who's put on some significant size and had a really good scrimmage in that first one. And now you're starting to see some chippiness out of him too, and I wonder if he's seeing that from Jared Verse. And talking to a source close to both of these scrimmages, they said yes. Jared Verse is kind of starting to take over a little bit of this defense. There aren't a lot of vocal guys on defense. Yes, you've got leaders like Robert Cooper, Fabian Lovett on the interior of that defensive line, but they're leaders for that group. Overall, Jared Verse is tripping with Jamie Robinson. He's talking with them. He's going over to the secondary, making sure things are, online there, making sure, the physicalness is coming to the offense. And then, of course, the defensive line, he's going over to Pat Payne, some of these younger guys, and making sure they're set and ready to go for their upcoming series. If he's not on the field, he's a guy that's right there, tiptoe as close as he can be onto the field. And I think definitely yesterday, seeing him in the red zone and, tossing, I can't say who, and this is what the sucky part is, but after spring we can. But maybe not, because it's scary to see. But I mean, absolutely tossing a player who's been projected very highly and going into the league at very early, I would say, early projection, but tossing people. I mean, tossing people with one arm and then doing the same thing the next play and getting a sack on Jordan Travis, which we know is not the easiest thing. Those things I wish we could video and share more of, but all I can do is write and kind of show you maybe who he's facing and whatnot. But I will say that, yes, we can confirm he's getting first-team reps. Yes, we saw that open to the media. That's on video. That's pictures. Yes, Jared Verse is getting first-team reps alongside Derek McClendon.
All right, well, we know who your favorite player is now for this season.
I tried to tell people before he arrived. This is no player. I think there was definitely some high expectations for maybe some other transfers, and that's definitely expected. We didn't talk much of Johnny Wilson, and look at him. I mean, he's your top 3 wide receiver right now, and that was not expected whatsoever. It was going to be Winston Wright, maybe even Micah ahead of him. Micah is starting to really come along, but Johnny Wilson, that was a complete shocker to me. Of how well he's impressed. And I know, James, we've talked about tons about Johnny Wilson. He once again scored a touchdown yesterday and that starting period, which was open to the media. So I just had to talk. I just started off that way because, why not just get straight to the point and let the listeners see what's going on. But yeah, I think it's been a defensive dominant last couple of practices and scrimmage.
I mean, that's what you want.
You saw Jared Verse in person.
Jared
Verse is
very impressive.
I'd almost rather hear you say the word Discord instead of Jared Verse at this rate. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jared Verse. I love what he does. I think he's even successful. But damn, say Discord once in a while. Jeez.
You don't want me to say Jared Verse anymore? Well, get ready because it's about to be said way too much. I'm hoping after Saturday, but it might be fall.
I'll agree with what Logan said about Jared Verse. And I made a comment. I got a chance to see a scrimmage in the fall. Unfortunately, hell, I almost died, but when Bobby almost passed, not almost, geez, like it's like my son right now, thinking he's still alive. When Coach Bowden died, they had a scrimmage that was open to former players to be able to come and check out. I've had the opportunity to see these scrimmages. Like Logan, I have an F-150, and maybe when gas prices go back under like $3, I'll start driving more again. But I've driven over to Tallahassee way too many times, like for a guy who needs more members in fifth quarter. But I saw Jermaine Johnson at the scrimmage, but I had also saw him again when they practiced in Jacksonville, and my thoughts were, man, this guy, I was like, I told Coach JP that I would have to cut block him consistently. Like I'd have to slow him down. I was like, this guy, he's an MFer. Like and I don't mean in a negative way. I'm like, he's just and I want fans to understand this. Like, there's reports by some people in the media that are talking disparagingly against the offensive line, which I get. But a lot of times, especially, and this is no knock on Logan, because Logan does a good job, but like y'all up there, I don't know. I can't see past my hand. I've had the opportunity to be on the field and can't see that. It can't see it as well enough to be able to give like some of the detailed accounts that some of the other outlets are giving. But I will say this: it's a reason why you want your defensive ends to be mutants. 6'5", 260, between 260 and 275. I don't know what these guys weigh, but even if they're over 250, running a 4.6 or better coming forward should always have an advantage over 6'6", 300 shuffling backwards. Like, we want our large mammals on the defense to whoop our offensive line. And it's not necessarily indicative of our offensive line being trash. It's more so an improvement on the defense. And who do they have? They've got the most, as far as the staff goes, they've got the most consistent staff. They've got the most consistent voices over there. They've got guys who know what they're doing, know what they're talking about. I've been in this time. They've got Odell Higgins, who's one of the best D-line coaches in the nation. And actually, I think he's coaching. He's looking a little vintage. Odell is not as old as what people feel. He's actually younger than my mother. And like Odell's under 60, if I remember correctly, but he's still been coaching. He's just got a lot of years of coaching. So we have to realize that now guys who have turned the corner, I think McClendon, I noticed that in the first practice. I was like, who the hell is this number 9 kid? Like, when is he one of the transfers? And then they were like, nah, that's McClendon. And I was like, oh, he got bigger and he's got moves. I don't know what he's going to do in the run game, but I do know this in the as far as the passing game goes, he's got some good moves that he's been putting on our guys. And some of our guys on offensive line, especially at the tackle positions, I believe, to be specific, I think there leaves something to be desired. But I think that's why you have Jordan Travis there. And I think, his ability to run the ball, and I've seen them in practice in 11-on-11, you have to account for that. Because all it takes is for Jordan Travis to break off a 40-yard run, and now all of a sudden that defensive end can't crash down like Verse is doing. And in spring, you learn your guys' tendencies because you're getting through the motions. Now, that's something that I didn't come on last week, but if I were to, my only critique on last week, which in their defense, they were coming from spring break. But man, that practice I was at Logan and Coach Norvell doubled, that was the worst practice that I've ever seen in spring football. Like, just like I said, that first practice I went to of theirs, that's the best first day practice that I've seen in Florida State in the last 5 years. Last Tuesday's practice was the worst spring practice that I've seen in the last 5 years. Not from a talent perspective per se, but from an intensity standpoint. I'm comparing it to what I saw at Georgia. Now, James, they say, James, that's not fair. That's where the talent is. I don't give a damn. The point is the standard is the standard. When I just go out there, Kirby's yelling at people, Kirby's cussing at people. The 2s and the 3s are pushing the 1s because the 1s know if I slip, this 2 or 3 was highly ranked too. And so when you have that many people gunning for it, it's hard to have a day off. But it just seemed like everybody was still having some spring break lag. But they got over it, and maybe they'll do. My bad, not spring break lag. Excuse me, a week and a half going into practice lag. Maybe they'll get better. I mean, I heard last Thursday's practice was good, and I don't know what yesterday's practice was like, but I haven't read any of the reports. But I'm assuming it's getting better, moving it toward what I call spring ball is Easter recital, kindergarten graduation. You're not gonna see anything. Like nothing. It's a display for the parents to see their kids that probably won't ever play that much get a chance to get some reps. It's kind of like that. It's not indicative of what the season's going to be.
James never took that advertising course at college about how to sell the product right there, saying that it's not going to be. Make sure to get your tickets now, guys. Make sure to be inside that stadium on Saturday.
They're already struggling. They're already struggling to do it. They won't let people buy Champions Club tickets, so I don't really care. Just the only ticket you need to I'm gonna put it like this. Only ticket you need to buy is to my tailgate. You may not make it inside the stadium if you go to my tailgate, even if you have tickets. As much food and alcohol we're gonna have. And it goes to a good cause.
Dude, Logan,
can I get a moonshine shot before I go into the press box?
Oh, slide in, man. Come on. Bring you
me and D-Lou.
Plastic bottles.
I just want
me and D-Lou will slide.
Can Logan and I get on the comp list? I don't need a drink. I just want the plate.
The plate does look good. The lineup for the plate does look good. I saw.
We got a stupid amount of food. I have no idea how we're going to eat all of this. Longhorn Steakhouse just stepped in and donated food.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way.
I will help. Now,
but all that being said is, I think they're going to be okay. I think we have talent in some areas, like you said, Johnny Wilson. In my opinion, I know people got upset about it, but he's not slow, but he's not a burner. He's a big body. If you move him to the Y, that's very tight endish. he looks, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it looks very tight endish. I think he's going to be that good guy for contested grabs.
Who would you compare him to if you had to compare him to somebody from kind of Florida State's past in the last couple of years? Like they've had big targets in the past, guys like
Auden Tate.
Tate.
Auden.
Tate,
actually, and then way back when would be Carr. But the thing is, Carr was really defined as a red zone threat, in my opinion, right. Where Johnny's being utilized, which I wasn't really expecting as much everywhere. But I would probably say Auden right now.
I think Auden's a better because Auden was a wide receiver that wasn't the fastest. Greg could go. I'm not going to disrespect my guy Greg. Them long legs was moving. and maybe a better in shape version of Kelvin Benjamin. Like, I'm not gonna go there and say he's gonna be 1,000+ wide receiver, but like he's really big, man. He's not a small man. He's large out there.
Yeah. No, he's been definitely impressive, and not only him. Now it's been Micah Pittman, the Micah Pittman show. And I think too, maybe people don't need to give a hard time on Deucepan. This is a project player that Norvell is going to continue to develop, and Winston Wright. Obviously, we're just glad that he survived that crash. And a good thing we heard yesterday was Mike Norvell saying that he's in town, he's in Tallahassee, he's rehabbing, and he's in team meetings. So they're just happy to have him back. But looking at Johnny Wilson and Micah Pittman. Pittman has had a really good last couple of weeks of practices. And I think a lot of people, too, were thinking he was going to be a bigger threat special teams. But now, he's making some crazy, ridiculous grabs where his body shouldn't be making these kind of grabs. And he's going up and bringing them down. And so you're looking at those two wide receivers. And, after the spring, there will be some guys that end up transferring. That'll probably be the biggest discussion after the spring game. But going into the spring game, I think a lot of fans are going to be excited to see 14, Johnny Wilson. They're going to be excited to see Micah Pittman and what he can do out on the field, because they are fun wide receivers to watch. And, some of these veterans, too, aren't, standing down. You're looking at Darian Williamson. You've got Portier, who's had a really, really good physical spring on his end. You've got Joshua Burrell. Of course, Malik McLean is probably Jordan Travis's favorite target. So these veterans aren't stepping down from it, but it's a really good sign to see these wide receivers coming in and having this chemistry so early on with the quarterbacks, and mainly Jordan Travis. But I think it's gonna be apparent, since this is offense versus defense. This isn't a defense that isn't getting split up into two teams, kind of like a regular Garnet and Gold game. You're going to see pretty early on how dominant this defensive line is, and I can't wait for it to show, because not only are you having Robert Cooper, Fabian Lovett, but right now someone pissed off Jared Jackson, because the last few practices he is getting in people's faces. He's making plays. He had 2 back-to-back sacks yesterday, 11-on-11 against first team. And then you've also got Malcolm Ray, which we know what you've got there. He can play. He started playing very well last year in the latter half of the season. And Joshua Farmer, who worked on his body big time, probably too strong for maybe how raw he is still, but a strong presence there. And Florida State, looking back at last season, was the top team in the ACC in run game defense. And I don't see that changing whatsoever after what we've seen so far this spring. But it's going to be apparent. It's going to be apparent right off the bat in this spring game, James, when we're watching it, that this defense is going to have an edge on the offense. And I don't think this should shock too much FSU fans to be like, oh, this offense is going to suck. It's brutal. There's a lot of highlights that have come from camp, but this has a potential. And if this doesn't get right for Fuller this year and what he's got right now, that defensive line, then we'll have another discussion, because this has a really strong chance of being one of the top defenses in the ACC heading into 2022.
That's a hot take right there.
A lot of people,
really?
Everybody's always got on Fuller, man. And like, I'm gonna tell you this: people have, kids don't lie, children do not lie. Well, their eyes. My son has never smiled. The first time he ever smiled in the picture with Mike Norvell was when we went to this past practice that he went to, which was funny. And everybody commented. They're like, your son literally acts like he hates Mike Norvell, which he doesn't. He's never in awe. But his favorite coach has been Coach Fuller. Now, it has nothing to do with the X's and O's. He's 8. He really doesn't know anything like that. He just knows Coach Fuller gave him a slice of pizza at the youth camp, and that's his favorite coach. Nobody else gave him pizza. He's like, the coach that gave, where's the coach? Like Coach Fuller called, he said, that's the coach that gave me pizza, right? So, yeah, that's my favorite. But I always joke, and people bash the defense, but the defense literally held us in some precarious situations consistently, man. Like, I don't care what any of the analysts. I know this. We cussed Jeff Bowden out a lot when I played. I would have fought Jeff Bowden if he would have if I was Mickey Andrew and he went for it on 4th down inside of our 40. Like everybody talks about the legend, like it would have been fighting words. Like, we put him in some bad spots, but I do think he doesn't have a tool as good as Jermaine Johnson. I think Verse has the ability in 2 years to possibly be that, but he does have more talent all around on the defense. The secondary is the only way I can describe it is young and dumb. Like they're good, but they got to come together and play collectively, especially at the safety position. The sky is the limit. They have potential to be whatever they want to be. They just got to come together. And I think you named Logan for the first time with true, like, not saying all these guys are all ACC, but for the first time you can name guys that if they get in the game, you don't expect to see that far of a drop off depth along the defensive line, especially in the interior. Farmer, that kid's got heavy ass hands, and he's really he's good. You talked about Jared Jackson, transfer from Louisville from 5'6". Shout out to my boy Grimes. He coached him up at Dwyer. He's a guy that if you can mess around and get something out, like get his potential to show, you got a steal of a draft pick in a year or two. And that's the crazy part, is that there are guys that have been on this roster that have finally got a chance to develop a little bit from what we see. And maybe we can see Mike Norvell, the developer, in year 3. And if we can see Mike Norvell, the developer, in year 3, like what he had in Memphis, when you're not getting the blue chip caliber prospects, but you're getting guys who are 3 stars and you're putting them in the scheme, you're developing them, and you're seeing them do stuff. Now it could get spooky, and it needs to get spooky, because I will say this: what the rivals are using, which they have a much better hype machine, media, united media front, that's full of inclusion to all kinds of sources, so that they have as many people talking about these staffs that have done absolutely nothing. They look like they're not going to miss a beat. Like Miami's roster has not changed much, and Florida's roster is really, really bad. But you see fans are hopeful because the beat is actually seeing some stuff. But I think and they're doing a good job in the media machine. But I think if Mike develops his talent and he's able to recruit properly, I think you can see Florida State finally take the edge on the Sisters of the Poor, which is what Big 3 is now.
I feel like we
Florida
haven't
State
heard Mark.
Seminoles live. I wasn't expecting I was going to talk, and that's it.
Oh,
That's
I've got more
good
stuff
thing.
there. There's a few more names. There's a
Go
few
to
more
it.
names. I want to mention Trey Benson
Hold on,
too.
before you get your names, real quick. You know what you have to do. So we've
Oh, that is true.
Hold on. We sold James's tailgate. James, how much is your tailgate? How much is it?
$25.
$25.
All donations go to Mentors for the Kids. I'm doing a STEM camp. That STEM camp costs $6,000 to put kids through. And my book bag drive. We're trying to give 2,000 book bags. A book bag is $36. So just think about it like that's almost a book bag that you're buying with one tailgate ticket.
Where will this tailgate be held?
Lot 6 inside the stadium.
Lot 6 inside the stadium. All right, put me down for a book bag. I'm coming by. Get you a book bag. Logan, now it's time for you to sell. I need you to sell 2 things: the like button and tickets. Go.
Like button and tickets. Well, I know you need to hit the like button because it's just going to make your life better. We got a spring game going on. It's going to be beautiful. If you hit the like button, we'll continue to have this beautiful weather. So please hit that. I want to be enjoying a nice beverage professionally before going and covering the spring game. Really professional. We'll start very early, maybe like 2 hours before. I'm just kidding. But hit the like button. Also hit subscribe, because we'll also be recapping the spring game too. So you'll want to be notified every time we go live after the spring game. And then make sure you go grab James's tickets. I'm going to go slide by. I think D-Lou will be too. So we're going to go swing by and say what's up. I've been to a few of them before. It's a good time. A lot of people from FSU Twitter always go over there. So I'll be sliding over there before we head up into the stadium and try to act professional for a couple of hours. But
Please try.
yeah.
Please act professional. I'm begging.
I'm going to try to. But I want to mention a guy's name, a few guys that stood out yesterday in practice before we move on to maybe previewing the spring game. I want to talk about Trey Benson. I thought that he had a really solid day, a few explosive plays where Mike Norvell, I thought he was going to jump on top of him, but was really excited about the gap that Benson hit. And you could just tell, too, after we talked with Benson yesterday after practice, and saying that he feels so much better. He feels definitely 100%. I don't know how many more times he's going to have to say it, but yes, he does feel 100%. I think the media, we need to stop asking that. He feels 100%. I'm sure it will be asked after the spring game, but yes, Trey Benson, 100% feels good. He felt like things were good to go once he started cutting on his leg. I believe it was his left leg, this last scrimmage. He said, yes, that's when I knew kind of that I'm back, I'm good, I'm the healthiest and fastest and strongest I've ever been. So that's a really good sign. And like I said, really good practice from him. And then I want to talk about Jamie Robinson and Akeem Dent. These two guys are most certainly your solidified starters, in my opinion, going into the fall, your safety position. I think Dent is having a whole turnaround kind of spring. We saw flashes of it last year, but you're seeing a gigantic spring with him. I think he gets an interception one or two times a practice, had a really good back-to-back scrimmages with takeaways. And once again, yesterday, he ended off the practice in the end zone with an interception. So Akeem Dent is turning into a big-time playmaker. And, hearing all these interceptions, you want to see it translate into a game because one thing, he almost had 80,000 interceptions. His freshman year didn't happen, but, Akeem Dent, and Norvell talked about it yesterday, he has turned into probably the biggest playmaker on Florida State's defense, which is much needed. And then Jamie Robinson, who's fully back healthy now. He was a little bit limited at the beginning of spring camp, but now you could see the presence felt whenever he's fully a go on Adam Fuller's defense, because not only just in the secondary, but really in the run game defense. I believe he had a sack yesterday and had a tackle for loss on Baby 9, Lawrence Toafili. You can really see these two safeties turning into a tandem back there. And it definitely sounds like a hype train over here. And I think that's it's understandable. It's spring. Everything looks good that you're not facing any opponents. We don't have a game to talk about. We just have a spring game and they're facing the same people over and over again. But the true thing is these are really good battles going on. And I think that's a thing that Mike Norvell has laid it down. These aren't going to be lazy practices. Every drill is going to be 110%. And that's something that I think he's built over to the rest of his staff, not allowing lackadaisical practices. You have a slow day maybe on Tuesday. Well, guess what? That's just not how it's going to work at Florida State, and he's going to change things, and Thursday's got to be better. So I just wanted to mention a few players before we moved on there that had a really that impressed yesterday during practice.
According to Gregory, Mark's playing Angry Birds right now. So I'm going to ask a quick question to both of you guys heading into Saturday. I'm going to start with James, then we'll go to Logan.
Logan got to go, so
no,
I'm good now. I'm good. I put in the chat. I'm good to go.
He bailed on his 7. He said that we're more important than friends.
I know. Poor guy's probably dying now.
We appreciate it. Start with James, then we'll go to Logan. James, give me the player you think will be, I guess we'll just use the term the MVP, the top player on Saturday, and give me the player you think has the most to prove. Who do you think has the most pressure on him going into Saturday's game?
Trey Benson. I don't think he'll be the starter. I think will come to fall, but I do think he's got it, man. He's really talented. He's big and he's fast. Like there's a lot to be said with that. The player who has the most to prove is the player that your season really rests on. And I know have no idea. I don't know if Mr. Rodemaker has really just paid a lot of guys, but I have no idea what practice that everybody's been at where they just really feel like Tate's improved, but it's not a competition. Like Tate and Duffy, to be honest with you, is the clear number 2. But if JT did go down, they probably would put Tate in. It's not to ruin Duffy, because Duffy needs more time before you just really give the number 2's job to him. But he's improved. But Jordan Travis has to show you as a passer that he's going to continue to improve every day. And when everybody picks on him, but when you look at his last 4 games, were really impressive as a thrower from an efficiency standpoint, from a touchdown to interception ratio overall through the season, what he can do with his legs. If Jordan Travis gets you 2,000 yards passing next season, you're probably easily an 8-win team. So, but you've got to see that out of him. And it's not just that. You got to see the durability, the toughness, the gritting it out. And I'm not calling him soft by any means, but you just got to be able to see him continue to take steps forward as a leader. That's what I believe are the 2 guys. And I would say on defensively, I would say Akeem Dent would be the guy,
Mhm.
and I would say Fabian Lovett. Fabian Lovett has all the ability to be an NFL defensive tackle, to be a second-day pick. If he balls out, maybe even a first-day pick. But he's got the body type, he's got the frame, he's got the demeanor, he's got the motivation. We just got to see him be able to take it to that next level.
Yeah, Jordan Travis is my guy who I think has the most to prove. Dwayne and I agree with you on that, James. I think that we saw vast improvement in 2021 over the 2020 Jordan. If he can continue that vast, but we've talked about this before, where Mark Rogers, what's college football? We've talked about what quarterback might they look at in the transfer portal. Are they going to look at somebody? The fact that Jordan improved so much in 2021 over 2020, yet we're still having that conversation, I think that shows that there has to be that pressure on Jordan to just go out and ball out. The question from that aspect is how much will Florida State's coaches let him ball out? As far as the MVP, it's a name you mentioned before. I think it's going to be Johnny Wilson. I think the fact that you've got that big target, it's someone Florida State has not seen that much of late. I mean, we go back to the days when you and I were kids, guys like Andre Cooper, and then go back after we graduated, guys like Greg Carr and whatnot. I think if you have that big target, and if he has the ability to be that big target both at the 40-yard line and at the 10-yard line, I think Florida State can do some big things. All right, Logan, go.
Well, Jason, make sure everybody get their lottery tickets because we're agreeing on the same thing. So make sure that you watch the stars because they're aligning tonight in front of us.
Write it down.
Or above us. Yes, I'm picking Johnny Wilson to be the MVP, mainly because I feel like we're cheating a little bit here. Maybe me and James are at least being able to watch these practices and seeing what maybe the quarterback's favorites are. But it's, Johnny Wilson, and for any kind of quarterback, though, he'd be a favorite just because of his length, his stature, and being able to physically go down with the ball. He's been very impressive one-on-ones in the red zone and midfield. So I'd go Johnny Wilson for potentially taking the MVP trophy away on Saturday. And then, looking over to a few other players that maybe need to see some, need to have a big spring game maybe. The obvious one for me is definitely Tate Rodemaker, I think. And I want to, not only that's an easy pick, so I want to try to make something a little bit more interesting. I got to go to maybe one of the veteran wide receivers. And, those are guys that are expected to be on the chopping block. Some guys expected to leave. Who's it going to be? Who wants to stay in Tallahassee? And I think that's going to be the case of all this. Is it Keyshawn Helton, Portier? Is it going to be Ontario, Pokey? Who wants to stay? I think Darren Williamson might have had, between him and Portier, have had the best camp overall. So I'm really looking at Ontario Wilson and Keyshawn Helton. And not saying that Ontario Wilson hasn't had flashes, but two of those four, we'll see if they end up staying here or not. I think Keyshawn Helton, Mike Norvell really likes to have him just on the team overall because he is a gigantic leader for that wide receiver room. And that's a big presence for him. But, he's going to look at some other guys and say, hey, still sticking around. What are we doing? I think that's going to be a big spring game for them. So that'd be my guess there. And I want to be shocked too to have a few flashes from Trey Benson because he's been doing it in practices all throughout camp. And I think, it's always a fan favorite to see a running back blow one open and take it 60 yards down the field. And he's been doing it in practices. If they give him a chance on Saturday, he's definitely going to be a fan MVP after it.
That's why I said it's easy to see, if you break a house call, and I've seen him do it enough. And these are humans, man. And this is teammates, man. I'm not hitting 230 or 220 running full speed if I'm a deep. If Akeem Dent makes a business decision in a spring game, I'm not even gonna be mad at him. I get it. I don't think. I think Keyshawn's staying. There's some things that are outside of football that I think he's into. But I mean, it's the craziest thing is last year we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation, and I didn't think we were going to have this conversation this year. I'm not even going to lie. There was nothing sexy about Johnny Wilson coming in. There's nothing sexy about Micah Pittman coming in. A lot of these guys, there's nothing sexy about it. So to see these guys, coming in, and I think one thing that I've got a chance to talk to a lot of these young men about, their focus is on the wrong thing. And And our rival schools, their focus is kind of on the right thing. I had a great interview with I hate to talk about him, I like him, Drake Kidd and Anthony Richardson, Florida starting quarterback. I did a great interview on our YouTube channel about it, and he made this comment. He said, "I got to focus on the NIL, and I forgot the main thing. I got to play." So I started focusing on the NFL. If I focus on the NFL, the NIL will come. And I think that's where a lot of these guys are missing. But like if they come out here, have a good spring, all the fluff pieces are gonna come out in the spring. We're being coach. We love these guys. This is the most connected we've ever been. All the same articles that we see every year are gonna come out, and that's no beef. It's the nature of the game. It's summer. There's nothing to write about. So you write about what makes people feel good. There's nothing negative or positive to say. But if they come out here and they do their thing against, how do you say, Duquesne or whatever, Duquesne? Yeah, that'd be a good check mark because we haven't won an opening game in damn near a decade. And then if we go out there, no matter what's going on with LSU, you go out there and you beat a LSU, then you're in a position to where a lot of like ESPN is going to be in your backyard talking about you a little bit more than what you feel comfortable about. But the NIL deals will come.
Mark, you hydrated? You ready? You got this?
I think I got this. Yeah.
Okay.
Florida State Seminoles live, folks. This is what we do every Wednesday at 6. We got Big Game James with us this week. That's always a bonus. We know you got a lot going, man. Appreciate you being here. Logan as well. And our guy, Jason Parker, of course, Mr. NBC6.
Sorry, I couldn't be
here. Down typically with the hot takes that Logan stole from him.
I'll teach you. Logan, I'll teach you how to do the hot take. Don't worry. We'll have you do it, giving us a real hot take. So here's my question for you. Jared Verse and Timmy Jernigan are hanging off a cliff. You can only save one.
Oh, God.
Who do you save?
You know what? I was just thinking about this yesterday when we were in the Discord doing the back cave. I was just thinking, why do I like Jared Verse so much? And it's probably just because of him talking a lot of, I can't say it on here, but talking a lot of trash and getting in people's faces and throwing, well, I can't really describe, but, it's football. There's times, like I said, some of the guys are tired of seeing one another every day, going against each other every day, battling one another every day. Gets a little chippy. And, Jared Verse likes to be that way, and Timmy Jernigan was most certainly that way. So maybe I get that kind of vibe from him, and we saw what that did in 2013, translating over to some other defensive linemen, and that ended up being a pretty mean group. So that's probably why, Jason, I like Jared Verse. Maybe I just like good players. I like did I not name Jashawn Ward about 80,000 times on here last spring?
You did.
And I wasn't even at those practices.
You also
now I'm like a cheater though.
You also talked a lot about Mackenzie Milton, so you've had both.
No, I did not. No, I did not. Not even close. No, I did not. Don't even start that. I never talked about Mackenzie Milton. After the two scrimmages that were publicly open and I got to go see, I did not say any word about that.
When you first transferred, you were praising his name. Saints McKenzie.
That was great locker room piece. That was good that he's got a little thing that he's doing a little venue this weekend at Garnet and Gold for some of the players. So that's really cool to see. So,
James, looking ahead, and you mentioned it a little bit here, Florida State hasn't won a season opener since 2016 against Ole Miss. It was our last season opening win. And since then, it's been opening with Alabama, opening with Virginia Tech, opening with Boise State, opening with Notre Dame last year. How confident are you that Florida State, by opening with Duquesne, that's a smart move? Because I firmly believe that if Florida State opens last year with Jacksonville State, then plays Notre Dame, Florida State at least wins one, maybe possibly wins both those games at that point. How much more confident are you at this point, knowing that Florida State will open with, I hate to say it, I hate to sound like I'm cocky here, but opening with an easier opponent to start the season?
I mean, I think it's idiotic to open up with a team that's on your level or better than you. I don't think there's anything to gain from that besides a check, which is part of why I don't feel bad for college football or like hearing the tears that people cry about athletes making money. All that is a check. It does absolutely nothing for you. You need a tune-up game, because it's like if you went all spring ball and then you walked right into a game against you just did spring ball and then your next game was Notre Dame. I mean, excuse me, LSU. That makes absolutely no sense. Like you're hitting people that that you like, and you're tired of hitting them. You're tired of 15 practices. You get more practices in the fall camp, and you got a summer. You got all this stuff. People talking trash. It's the anticipation. You want to go ahead and get it over with, and then it's like once you play that game, and you play it at such a high level. And then, like, there's nothing for you to look forward to against Jacksonville State, which is part of the reason why you had such a letdown, is because they're nowhere near as talented as Notre Dame. They can't be. They don't have the depth. So when you play whoever these Sisters of the Poor are, the only hopes that you have is that your players show you that they finally have this killer instinct, this killer mentality, that they go out and they finish the food on their plate and they ask for seconds and thirds. And you got to pull them back because their little brothers want to come in too. And that lets you know the mentality or the culture of the team has changed. Like if they're not up 21 on Duquesne by the middle of the second quarter, we've got some issues. And because if they are, that means they've executed. I'm using that as a low number, but if they are, that means they've executed properly. They've gone out there and posed their will, and now you're not showing a lot on film. You're going and putting other stuff out there, letting your twos and your threes work, which gets them better. I joke with my son's flag football team. I was like, we got 5. I got my son, his best friend, Charles, his boy Mason, and Bodie are cats. Them cats good. I tell them it's their job for us to go ahead and mercy rule this team early so that the other kids can get better. If they don't go out here and score these 3 touchdowns like we're supposed to and get these 3 stops, they haven't done their service and duty as leaders to make the rest of the team better. And that's what Florida State used to be. That's the mindset that I was birthed into. Whoop they behind so that other people could get in the game. Part of it was too, I wanted to figure out which girls we were going to talk to after the game. But it's easier to do that when you got a quarter to play it. Like these guys don't know what that's like, so I need them to learn that. But now you got the itch, the vibe out of the way. Now you go out here and you play LSU, and you ready to come out. You ready to come and battle and squabble a little bit. The tune-up, even in boxing, boxers always have that tune-up fight before they go and fight the big dog. And that's kind of what you got to. That's what I think that week 1 game needs to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to be in Baton Rouge. I'm excited. Well, not really Baton Rouge, but New Orleans.
New Orleans. So
I was gonna say it's the same thing. Same thing. I'm excited to be over there, but it's really we're at the biggest thing is just like pacing ourselves throughout that entire weekend, making sure that we're being professional and staying true to our word on what we need to do as a credential. Now, a credential, that's weird to say, but as a credential outlet, we've got to kind of act professional, but we still got to have fun because we can't be just, sitting on a keyboard all weekend long and New Orleans. That's not going to be allowed at Noel Game Day. We're gonna enjoy ourselves and have a good time, but that's going to be the biggest problem is pacing ourselves.
NBC6 is credentialing me. I will be a credentialed member of the media. I will be respectful of the process. You can go get buck wild if you want to. I will be the grown adult amongst us.
Oh, jeez.
What?
I'll be all right. Yeah. Did you guys see that they're doing 4 guest coaches? It was just announced when we went live earlier. 4 of those coaches are going to be Danny Cannell, quarterback there, Bryant McFadden. My former Steeler Go Steelers.
Broward County representing with both of them. There we go. All right.
There we go. We've got Peter Boulware, a big house name
Ravens.
here in Tallahassee.
Ravens. Yeah, that's right.
And then we've got quarterback fan favorite EJ Manuel coming in town. I guess they're going to give him a break off at ACC Network to be able to come hang out at his alma mater. So that's a pretty cool thing. I know they had a few sports reporters, I guess you could say, last year. And, that was just a little weird for me. Yeah, that was a little weird. I think this is definitely a way 10 times better approach.
Well, technically, you got 3 reporters. They're just
exactly. I think of them first off as definitely football players. But
I hope they do something to honor Gene. Obviously, this will be the last game Gene Deckerhoff will be calling.
Yeah.
So I hope they do something. I believe they will. So
I would imagine. I hope so. Maybe they'll. Well, they probably won't announce maybe who's up next, but wonder who will be taking that spot on the FSU radio.
I'll tell you guys right now, it's not me. I got.
Oh, are you kidding me? I thought you were gonna announce it here on Mark Rogers' show.
I got a very nice, well-written rejection letter. Essentially, it said no chance in hell. But yeah, so yeah.
Stick to Mark Rogers.
I told you since I was 6 years old, growing up as a child, that all I wanted to do was be the play-by-play voice for Florida State after listening to Gene Deckerhoff. But having the voice of a 14-year-old girl who hasn't hit puberty yet really hasn't gotten to that point. So
it's okay. You could talk about as much as Gene Deckerhoff, though, but it's really 90% about Miami, though. So once you kind of translate, at least when you get 50-50 between Florida State and Miami, then you're good. Then they start listening to your LinkedIn requests.
I'm covering the FSU game this week. The following week, the Miami game inside a soccer stadium. It's going to be a lot of college football over the next couple of weeks. Florida, for some insane reasons, doing theirs on a Thursday night.
Why?
The argument was that it was a exposure, that by being on a Thursday night, you're not battling other schools for exposure.
Okay, yeah, no one gives a damn.
By being on Thursday night, then they get exclusive coverage from the voice of college football, and they don't have to compete with another 20 schools like they will on Saturday.
That's their excuse. I'm sorry, but yeah, you can use that in the fall, but you can't use that in the spring. I don't even know who the hell has a spring game this upcoming weekend. All I know is that it's FSU.
Florida State does.
But then I would be like, oh, wow, thank God Florida's on Thursday. I've got to go watch that.
Man.
I only know FAU has theirs is because my dog Peter Ward's not going to be
Saturday's loaded up.
So
What's that? What's the Saturday lineup? Because I have no idea who else is having a spring game.
The Saturday lineup, I'll leave out the scrubs and I'll just throw out.
What is FSU battling with since?
Just the ACC network's got BC at 11, Clemson at 1, North Carolina at 3, FSU at 5.
Oh, look at that.
Clemson. So Clemson's the only school that we'd be worried about losing recruits to, and we got a good little lineup of guys coming.
Auburn, Texas A&M, Nebraska, who else?
FAU,
Cincinnati, Kentucky, NC State,
FIU.
They've got one too. See, now you're cheating. You're cheating. You live there, so you've got it.
I know FAU's having one. That's the only one I know.
And FIU is actually fielding a football team this season. So there you go. Congratulations to them. They found enough players to make a team. So congratulations to them.
Florida's is next Thursday?
Next Thursday the 14th, before Good Friday and Easter and Passover and everything next weekend. I did want to mention something, Mark, if I could have just 1 second real quick. A few fans of your show have texted me. We actually have fans who actually like me. I know. It was shocking. I was shocking too. Fans
who are these people?
With Mark Rogers TV. You can't kick them out, Mark.
Need an account of these people.
You cannot call them out. But a few people who have a comment that Logan made before about when I said that I did not drink on the show and whatnot, and they made comments about my weight loss. They wanted to check and make sure everything was okay with me. So I just wanted to let them know there is nothing medically wrong with me. I am perfectly okay. To allude to what Logan said when I said I don't drink, I'll just tell you guys I've been in AA for 16 months between the divorce and the pandemic. Thank you very much. Nice. The divorce, the pandemic of working from home really was a hell of a double play on me. Since November 27th of 2020 was my last drink. Ironically, the best part was that my first AA meeting was in Tallahassee, which was also where I got drunk for the first time when I was in college. So it started in Tallahassee, it ended in Tallahassee. So it all just comes together full circle. So that's why, guys. So that's where it comes from. So that's why, Logan, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that's why, Logan, you will have to have enough fun for both of us in New Orleans come the first week of September.
I'll do that for you, Jason. I will do that. I promise I will.
If you come to the tailgate, if you see a jug and it's orange, stay away from it.
Stay away from the orange jug. Let me write that down.
It's not Kool-Aid. It's Dreamsicle Moonshine.
Okay.
It's not Sunkist.
Just making sure you know that.
Stay away from the orange jug. Got it. Cool.
Yeah, right, it's not Sunkist either. No.
Yeah. No, it's not Tampico or Tampio. It's not. It has the Tampioco. It's just not that.
It's not orange drink. Got it. Okay. Cool.
Right.
No, Jason's been looking good, man. It's been those salads too. It's been those salads at 6 p.m.
Don't remind me. It's a cry for help. Don't remind me.
Jason, take us home. I'm off to do the Canes.
Oh,
All right.
well,
Oh, sorry.
Big game.
All right.
Thanks. Logan, thanks. Jason, appreciate it.
Guys, we will
Yep.
see you. Are we doing it after the game Saturday?
I don't know because we'll have to do interviews in the press box and stuff, and it's too quiet up there.
Stay tuned. If we're not here Saturday, we'll be here next Wednesday. We'll cover it all. We will give you
I will
a
be.
recap.
Yep. If you send me a link, Mark's gone, so I don't know if he'll send me a link. But if he sends me a link, then I can do it on my walk home from the car because I gotta leave the stadium and watch this UFC fight card this weekend.
Oh, who's fighting? Wait, no, this is
Jacksonville. That's in Jacksonville. That's in your home.
I just thought about it. Oh crap!
Yeah.
Wow, who does that?
Yep.
God damn it, Michael Norvell! How dare you schedule? I love violence, man.
One time you get it in Jacksonville, you're in Tallahassee.
You know, it used to be. Well, no, we had it last year, and I got to see Usman fight Masvidal, and I knew that was a great. As soon as I walked in, somebody broke their leg. But we used to have this thing. What we still do is called Guns and Hoses. I couldn't go for like 3 years because every year Guns and Hoses was on the same day as the spring game.
Oh no.
They changed it. It's in June now, but like I'm mad at you, Mike. I was definitely gonna let them know that on Friday.
I haven't watched UFC consistently since college, since 2006, so I have no idea what the hell either one of you is talking about right now.
It's just violent. I can watch violence live. Anything. It could be,
and no matter what matchup it is, either.
Yeah, it's just live. It's awesome.
James, one more time. Plug your tailgate. Plug where we can go. What we need to do.
All right. If you go to the best thing to do is go to @BigGameJames_36. There's really the pin suite shows just a little bit of the food. We've got my man Gary's doing some Jamaican food, so we'll have jerk chicken, plantains, a roti. I'm trying to think of the callaloo, the fish thing, whatever they call it. We'll have that. Longhorn Steakhouse, bring me some lamb chops. I think those are just for me. But we'll have a whole bunch of other stuff that'll be up there. Ribs. But this ain't no cookout.
Yeah.
What I do I do it right. On top of ABC Fine Wine and Spirits, my title sponsor of my show, we'll be providing all top shelf alcohol. We'll have cigars. We'll have moonshine. All $25. All proceeds go to my book bag drive in the STEM camp. Also on Friday night, if you're in town, Capital Cigar Lounge, we're doing a free comedy show. Just a donation. You bring a chair. It's outdoors. We'll have some comedians, good DJ. It's more of a block party. Nice vibe. Come hang out. We're having a full big game weekend. If you've ever seen anything that I do, a lot of people try to imitate it, but very few can duplicate it. It's all high end. If I do it, you're going to party the way that I would party by myself. So I don't drink cheap liquor and I don't eat bad food. So you're going to have a good time.
That was my problem for a while. Lot 6, correct?
Lot 6 is where the tailgate is, $25. If you go to Ticket Tailor, that's where the tickets are. But if you bring cash, I promise you I'm not going to turn you away. But again, it's imperative. This is just a big fundraiser for me and what I do for my nonprofit in the community, which is important.
All right, so come get a plate, then take a nap before the game because I feel like
that part.
Need it at that part, definitely. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, so we will be back next week, maybe Saturday if we're sober enough. If these two are sober enough to do it.
I don't know.
If I can get decent Wi-Fi, maybe we go do that. Right. If not, we'll be back next Wednesday with a complete recap of the spring game. So for Logan, James, I'm Jason. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Later.
Yep.